Hey now! What is up, everybody? My name is Mike Brown, aka Review King MB, and I just got back from the theaters after seeing Fantastic Four First Steps. This is a 2025 film, and I gotta be honest, there's been so many other times when I've left a theater after seeing a Fantastic Four movie and either I'm disappointed severely or I'm having to reconcile with myself and say, well, it was okay. There was some good things about it, some good scenes, kind of. Whereas now it feels like this is the first time that I walked out of seeing a Fantastic Four movie and finally thought, fuck yeah, they did it. Marvel finally made a good Fantastic Four movie. I'm talking all the way around. Doomsday, rise, motherfucker, rise, rise. This was directed by Matt Shankman, and the plot. The plot is, it's so refreshing that we don't have to regurgitate the origin, that we don't have to sit through an hour of the origin again. Like, we get thrust into a story where the Fantastic Four have been the Fantastic Four for quite some time, for a few years at this point. And that's great. I also found it very refreshing that they're on a different universe as the usual MCU. Now, don't get me wrong, what I love about the MCU is the fact that we finally have one world or one universe where all of our favorite superheroes are together or can interact together, because that's what the comic books are like. And so you kind of want to see what that is like with certain characters. And the Fantastic Four obviously are some of those characters that you want to see interact with our favorites. But I think it was important to make a great Fantastic Four movie first, instead of doing the usual, what some people complain about, of like, hey, here's a cameo, here's so and so, here's this person, here's that person. Let's establish these characters first. Let's let these actors be their own. Let the audience who are sort of lukewarm on Fantastic Four get to know them, get to know these versions of them, and actually decide if they give a shit about them. You have Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards, and I think this is the first time that Reed Richards comes across as not just intelligent, but as a relatable father figure, but a person that looks at every situation in mathematics. He looks at every situation, even if it involves some tough decisions, as does it make sense for problem solving, right? And I think that's what they nailed the most. In Pedro Pascal, we see him in like 100 different things per year, but I became lost in him playing Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic. I think he was great in that respect. Vanessa Kirby, who I've been a big fan of since I first saw her in something. What was it, Mission Impossible? Maybe it was something else, but I think she's great. And her as Sue Storm, another one where it's like, okay, we find out she's pregnant pretty early on, but she doesn't just take a back seat. She doesn't just become the pregnant lady over there in the corner that we're going to check back in every half hour or so. No, she's still involved. She's still very much a part of the story. She's still a big part of everything that's going on here. Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm. Coming off of Stranger Things, I was kind of wondering, am I going to be able to go with him as this character, because Johnny Storm is such a specific type of younger character. But I think he nailed it. I think he did a good job of, yes, he's a ladies' man, and yes, he's immature at times, but they didn't make him annoying. They didn't make him unlikable. They didn't highlight those qualities. They're there, but it didn't take front and center to where the point where I don't want to see the guy on screen, which has happened in past times. Ebon Moss Backrack, I probably butchered this guy's name. I know he's on that TV show The Bear. I haven't seen it, but I've seen him in other things. Him as Ben Grimm, I did like. I did. I thought he looked great, special effects wise, rock wise. Like, the Thing looks awesome. And his place in the group, I also enjoyed as well. The only complaint I'm going to have about Ben Grimm at all is, yes, the voice. I know it's something small. It is something that I kind of just got used to, and I'm just sort of being okay with now at this point. But I still wish that we had the rough, gruff, gravelly type voice that I'm used to. I think that's the only thing that would have made this perfect. And I love the 1960s New York that we see here. I know it sounds odd to have a film set in that time period, but because it's an other universe, it's an Elseworlds, it's not our universe, you can have some fun with the 60s New York. You can have certain buildings and certain landscapes look unique, look different, because even though it was the 60s, it still looked futuristic, or maybe a different technology. Maybe Reed Richards' technology that he's given to this world has changed things a bit, and so I like that. I enjoyed that. Let's talk about the villains. You have Galactus, which this movie already gets extra points for having a Galactus that's not a big, giant fucking cloud. That is something that I will never forgive Fox for, that I still just irks me and pains me to this very day. He looked like Galactus. He had the weight of Galactus. He had the size. He had the scope. Ralph Ineson does a great job with the voice. I loved everything about how Galactus was presented here. Also, the Silver Surfer, which I know some people were upset that they gender swapped the character, which is like, whatever, I don't really care about that. I was more interested in seeing how the character was presented, if it felt enough like the Silver Surfer to a point where you don't hopefully think about that. And I think Julia Gardner did a great job with that. I think she did embody the character. She did make this version of the Silver Surfer, who has a different name and everything, her own. Yes, I mentioned earlier that the Fantastic Four has a new baby. I'm not going to get too much into this, but if you do have any semblance of knowledge of the comics and where this could go, I am highly looking forward to what is to come, possibly, of this baby. I saw that the budget was $200+ million, and that's a lot, man. I recently talked about the current state of Marvel, the future of Marvel, and Kevin Feige's comments about it. And one of the things I mentioned was they need to do a better job at balancing and managing their budgets. Their budgets are way too high, way too big. I think there's a healthier way to spend money on these movies to where you're not killing yourself, you're not breaking the bank, you're not heavily relying so hard on a certain benchmark for the box office in order to count success. However, the special effects do look great here. I can't lie and say that they didn't use those bucks to their advantage. There's a couple scenes, especially in space in particular, that I thought was like, wow, they at least used it well. I was impressed that it was self-contained, at least as much as it was. I know I already said it was in its own pocket universe, but still, they refrained from, like I said, the cameos or the references or the, hey, don't forget about this stuff over here. Even the post-credits scene, I thought it did a good job of being teases, of not trying to go too big. Some people might be disappointed that it's not bigger, but you can't be disappointed while also wanting more self-contained stories or more movies about these characters alone so that it can be more standalone, so it doesn't have to feel like this whole bigger thing. I think this movie succeeds in that, and it succeeds in a lot of things. I very much enjoyed this. I'm going to give Fantastic Four First Steps a full price. So guys, let me know in the comments below if you too saw Fantastic Four First Steps. What did you think of it? Did you like it as well? Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Later!